Where money is flowing is not where we want it to flow. And I'm committed to facilitate the reallocation of money away from uses of fear, destruction, overconsumption, destroying our environment, to reallocating that money to love, life, the preservation of life, the health and well-being of our children, the health and well-being of our communities, the health and well-being of all children of all species for all time.
Before we learn more about Drawdown, though, we need someone to come up and provide the necessary antidote to my mild gloom. It is really true that my job for 30 years has basically been to bum people out, and I've gotten good at it, and I apologize, and I feel quite all right about it tonight because, among other things, we have Lynne Twist to sort of take us in the next direction. Lynne is a renowned global activist. She leads workshops, she writes books like The Soul of Money, but probably most importantly, she helped found the Pachamama Alliance. Now, the Pachamama Alliance is a real and powerful presence in the fight not only for environmental rights, but for human rights, for a working planet that works in every way. And one of the insights, I think, most importantly, that we've learned over the last 10 or 15 years is that it's pointless to try and divide out the environment as a kind of separate category in which to work, inextricably linked to questions around human rights and indigenous rights and everything else for these questions that we come up against. The Pachamama's Alliance purpose is to bring forward an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence. They've worked to conserve millions of acres with indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest. And Lynne, well, you saw the picture of her up there with Oprah. Her reach is enormous. Countless people throughout the world, programs in 80 countries, in 20 languages over the years, things like this Drawdown course that we hope that some of you will register for tonight. Lynne is a force in the world, and it is a great pleasure to welcome you here tonight. Lynne Twist.
Thank you, Bill McKibben, for waking up millions and millions and hundreds of millions of people on this planet in such a powerful way. I think we all owe a huge debt of gratitude to you and 350.org. So the Pachamama Alliance, as Bill said, is really a project that comes out of the Amazon, the indigenous peoples of the Amazon, who are the custodians of these magnificent forests and who have a really clear and deep resonance with what's happening in the world today. And the Pachamama Alliance is a partnership, an alliance between indigenous peoples of the Amazon, particularly the Sacred Headwaters region of the Amazon, which is in southern Ecuador and northern Peru, and conscious, committed people in the modern world like all of you here and all the people listening to this live streaming for the sustainability of life itself. And our competency and what we bring to the very, very important issues of our day is to really create transformational educational experiences that shift the way people see themselves, their relationship with the natural world, their relationship with one another, their relationship with future generations, and the sustainability of life, waking people up to their natural responsibility, their natural love for this planet, for all forms of life, and for future generations. And that competency is something that we do through courses all over the world, as Bill said. But what I want to say is that having people be able to see that they can make a difference allows people who are apathetic, who have lost hope, who feel that there's nowhere to go and they can't face this giant thing called global warming, climate change. It's just too big for me. I can't figure out what to do about it. It's overwhelming, it's hopeless, it's inevitable. What are we going to do? And they just do the best they can to ignore it. Our job is to wake people up, particularly people who are apathetic, particularly people who've lost their hope, particularly people who can't see their way to take action. And so I must say that global warming is so gigantic, so upsetting. The news keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Things are going faster than anyone predicted, that it's easy to kind of want to go numb to it. It's easy to kind of go back into the trance. And I must say that even for myself, there are times when, even though I'm kind of in charge of creating possibility for people, that I can't find the possibility myself. But in April, I think it was, of 2017, when I got a call from Paul Hawken saying that this book was getting released called Drawdown. And he sent me an early copy, maybe it was January, I can't remember, but early 2017. And he started to tell me about what Drawdown was and what had come out of the research that had been done for years and years with over 200 experts and scholars and scientists that Catherine and Chad are going to talk about tonight. And he said, you know what? We can reverse global warming. We can reverse it. Not just mitigate it, not just try to slow it down, not just avoid it, being totally at the effect of this thing much bigger than us. We think we can actually reverse it. We created it as a human species, and we can turn it around completely. Now, it's not going to be easy, but we can do it. That's kind of the revelation of the research. And I started to cry, actually, because I needed it. I needed that tonic. I needed to be able to see the way through. I was beginning to get discouraged myself, even though I'm in charge of the possibility of life. You know, that's kind of my job at the Pachamama Alliance. And I remember being in tears over this phone call. And then when he sent me the workup of the book, it wasn't quite published yet, and I started reading the introduction, and I started looking at the exquisite photographs and the 100 solutions, which you'll hear about tonight. I was just, it was like water to the desert for a person like me. And so the Pachamama Alliance, we picked this thing called Drawdown up, and we said to ourselves, we need to get this out there as far and wide as possible. People need hope. People need to see the way through. People need to see that this is not something happening to us, but perhaps, as Paul has said, it's happening for us. Global warming actually is perfect feedback for a species that's lost its way. In other words, the system is working perfectly. The natural system is working perfectly. It's giving us real serious, real urgent, real comprehensive feedback as a species to have us course correct in a very deep and profound way. And so, yeah. And so this extraordinary message, Drawdown is a book, yes, but it's way more than a book. We consider it a revelation, a gift, a blessing, a kind of a miracle coming just at the right time. And when you engage with the Drawdown material, which you can in the course that'll be offered here by Pachamama Alliance that has been mentioned, or when you just sit and read the book, or when you listen tonight to the panel, to Catherine and Chad, who are part of the Drawdown team, open your heart, not just your mind. Open your soul, not just your brain, to being one of the people who gets this message implanted not only in who you are, but in every living human being you can get this message to. Because ultimately, what this message says is it's not game over, it's game on. It's game on. And I'll just say one more thing, that this last week, a week ago, I guess it's now 2 weeks ago, we participated, as many people probably in this room and listening to this did, in the Global Action Summit that Governor Brown in California put on in San Francisco. And just the fact that that thing happened, that the governor of my state, I live in California, after the United States withdrew from the Paris agreements, said, well, wait a minute, we're not withdrawing. California is going to go for it. We're going to meet those agreements and go beyond them. Who else wants to be in? And he convened 3,000 governors, 3,000 mayors, 3,000 experts, 3,000, all of these people, 3,000 total, people who had the commitment and the wherewithal to not only address those Paris agreements, but go beyond them and come together and have a kind of summit that was about solutions, about progress, about what's working, about how powerfully the world is picking up on this. And it was so positive. And we were lucky enough to bring be part of bringing 40 indigenous peoples from the Amazon, whose voice was woven throughout that conference, throughout that summit. The voice of the forest, the voice of the natural world, the voice of the spirit of life was throughout that conference. And it was so, so, so inspiring to have the indigenous voices not only be heard, but be central to the message of what we can and will do as a human family, as a species who's lost its way, with the guidance, the love, the depth, the spiritual power of our indigenous partners. So I say tonight, once again, be open to be a carrier, an ambassador, a spokesperson for this message and everything that comes with it. Yes, there's huge hurdles in front of us. Yes, it'll take everything to turn the situation around. But knowing that we can, knowing that it's possible, knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I have a friend who says the light at the end of the tunnel is actually a mirror. We're the ones we've been waiting for. We can do it. It's not game over, it's game on. Thank you.